It was really moving to see the movie on the big screen, because not all of us, I think, believed that it will happen.
No, most of us believed it wouldn't happen, I think.
It's really hard to make a film anyway, even with a budget, but to make it without a budget, virtually from nothing, it's much harder. The fact that we did it is a huge win for all of us.
This is the Book of Life. I'm Heidi Rabinowitz. The Last Shepherd is a Hebrew-language, independent sci-fi fantasy comedy adventure film created in Israel with elements based on Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah, as well as on geek culture. I had a blast Skyping with the filmmaking team in Tel Aviv. The film is not currently available outside of Israel, so let's try to change that. Ask your local Jewish film festival or your local Comic-Con to screen Evil Sun Productions' film, The Last Shepherd.
Hello, this is Heidi.
Hello, Heidi. This is us.
It's great to talk to you.
You have a very melodic voice. You should totally do a podcast or something.
Thank you. So first, since there are so many of us, if everybody could just go around and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Uri Lifshitz, one of the lead actors in the film.
I am Ronnie Wiseman, and I'm also one of the lead characters in the film.
I'm Guy Bosco. I was the writer of the film. And we have Dovi here, but he refuses to talk.
Dovi is our post-production manager and our on-site documentation guy and lead technical expert in anything and everything.
Okay, good. Well, welcome, Dovi, who refuses to talk. So, for all of the listeners who have not seen The Last Shepherd, can you summarize the story?
The Last Shepherd is a fantasy film. It's very much based on Hebrew mythology, so expect to see representative from God, rabbis, the devil, etc. It takes place in Israel in nowadays, and it just shows you that the backdrop of every good fantasy story doesn't have to be medieval castles in Europe or ancient stories and fables from other cultures. You can just as easily do them within your own culture, because the Jewish people have so much myths and fascination in our past that sometimes it's difficult to relate to that because we're living Judaism day to day, and the epicness of it seems to be in the far past.
Yeah, it's a very Jewish film, but it's also a very Israeli film. You see a lot of Israel, you see a lot of Israel mentality. It's a road trip movie, so it goes a lot of interesting places in Israel, and it has very interesting fantasy elements.
So, what was your inspiration for this film? I guess I mean two things by that. What gave you the idea to make a movie in the first place, and I also mean specifically your inspiration for the particular story that you told.
Basically, we're part of a group that works in the Israeli Society of Science Fiction and Fantasy for many years. We've done all sorts of mini productions and stage plays and short movies in fantasy and science fiction. We have a few conventions here in Israel, like Comic-Con. When it came the time that we wanted to make a feature film, I really wanted it to be something based on Jewish folklore, because you have all these fantasy movies all around the world, mostly based on either Christian mythology or pagan mythology. And Jewish folklore is huge. There's enough material in there to make hundreds of fantasy movies, and it's very rarely tapped. So I wanted to make that for years. Once we had a very big community here that supported our works, and we wanted to make a feature film, and it was around the time that crowdfunding started to become big here in Israel, and we said, how about we crowdfund the next movie?
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but the entire film was financed in crowdfunding. We had a month and a half of crowdfunding, and we got a little over $10,000. And that's the entire budget of the film.
Everyone volunteered to make it, so we didn't have to pay anyone, but we used the money on props and costumes and
Food.
Oh, yeah, food. A movie like this usually has a budget of,
A million.
Yeah, at least. A lot of the money went to equipment. You need good recording equipment, a good camera, and we did what we could with costumes and props. But
It is worth mentioning Shimi's beard, which I'm very attached to, obviously. Or at least I was, until I got the glue remover. But it's easy to say, well, why haven't you spent more money on that? I'll tell you why, because that mustache and beard was handmade by a girl voluntarily who took strands and pieces of cloth and whatever and glued them together on my face just to make that. Technically, we haven't spent any money on Shimi's hair, which maybe we should have.
yeah, I think what we thought is, since it's a kind of a crazy comedy, that we could get away with things like that, but
Yeah, I actually feel like it's adding to the film. The fact that it's imperfect, it makes you understand that, okay, this is the film I'm about to watch. It's not a Hollywood feature film. It's nothing expensive. It's just a fun film. And it's funny. It's funny to see this young man trying to look old and the sword fight. Oh, spoiler.
I don't think it's a spoiler that there is a sword fight in the movie.
How can you not?
Right.
Well, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's part of the charm. I love this film just because it has this charm, something that does not exist in a lot of big-time films.
There's a film called Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. I don't know if you've seen it.
No. What a title.
I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It was done in Canada by a group of, mostly students.
I haven't heard about it even.
You haven't heard about it? Oh my God, we have to do a screening. It's beautiful. Now, in many ways, it's a terrible, terrible film. You see one guy in 2 frames and he has different hairstyle completely. I mean, there were months between, you can tell. And there are so many, but it has this charm of vitality. You can see that people clawed their way into making a movie. And you can see so much love that was put in it. And I think we have that same kind of charm, I think is the word, yeah.
I agree. It's very charming.
Thank you.
Uri, tell us about your character Shimi, who is based on the sage Rashbi, Rabbi Simeon Bar Yochai. Did you base your characterization on history, on any sci-fi characters? Talk about that.
The Rashbi we have a lot of legends about what he did and how he did it, but there's very little characterization about the actual person. I mean, I tried living in a cave for a few years, but some don't really connect with the character as much. But it's a lot of the little things. For example, it's told that the Rashbi ate from a carob tree, which was outside his cave for years. So I actually started eating carob paste and all sort of carob project. Just the kind of thing that puts you in the same state of mind and mind frame to relate to a character. I read a lot about him. I even read some very, very beautiful 16th century poetry about him just to get more feel of him, and a lot of Bible-related readings. It's really interesting just, wearing the clothes of the time and walking around and trying to feel the earth on your bare feet is the kind of thing that really connects you with any character that have so much love for this country that we live in.
I also want to talk to our other actor, Ronnie. Talk about Maya. At first, it seems like she might be just a sidekick, but she turns out to be really important.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. Well, Maya starts as an anti-God, anti-anything. She's not a very stable person. She switches jobs, she switches hobbies, and she never sticks to anything. She twists to be a very major, powerful character at the end. And it's a very interesting shift that she makes, because at the end of the film, I'm trying not to spoil here, she actually sticks to her
Purpose?
Purpose. Thank you, Dobby.
In many ways, I think this is both a hero's journey movie as well as a coming of age story. You can see some characters evolve throughout the story while still very much being a comedy.
Yeah, it's important to say that it's a comedy.
Yeah, haven't we said
mentioned
that? But yeah, it's a comedy.
Okay. I noticed references that sci-fi fans would understand but others might not notice, like use the Force from Star Wars, with great power comes great responsibility from Spider-Man, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few from Star Trek, a meets Dalek shirt from Doctor Who. So, as a geek myself, I love that. And I can see the movie is squarely aimed at that audience. But how have non-geeky viewers responded to the movie?
The film was, from the beginning, meant for the mainstream audience, but with a special emphasis for the geeky audience. I think we did something right there, because even if you don't get any of the references, and let me tell you right now, I've made the list and it's over 70 references to God know how many things. But even if you don't get any of them, the film still works. You understand what's happening. You understand why people are laughing. And if you don't get a reference, it's fine.
You get an additional kick out of it if you do understand the reference, but it's really not necessary to enjoy the movie. Of course, the main audience that funded the movie, that we targeted primarily, were geeks and fans of sci-fi and fantasy, but we really wanted to expand later to the mainstream audience. And you know, also people have come up to me and say they loved all kind of references to things that aren't necessarily sci-fi and fantasy, and to things that I haven't even intended and have never watched, and people find everything. That happens as well.
You know, I have to tell you as a trivia that one of the things in the crowdfunding campaign was challenge the writer. 5 people who got to decide about something that they want to put inside the movie. Something as simple as
A turtle.
A turtle,
A name,
a quote, etc. For example, my character walks around with a stuffed animal, with a stuffed turtle doll throughout the film, just because someone said, okay, I want to see a turtle in the film. We thought maybe one of the characters have a pet, and then we actually discovered that turtles are an endangered species here in Israel, so we couldn't use a turtle. So we just used a doll, and I think that made a huge difference. This is one of the things that you can't plan, just something that drop out of the sky, sometimes literally during the film, and you just go with it and magic happens.
I'm interested to hear about the origin of that turtle because I wondered what the significance was of the turtle.
Well, that was it. Someone in the crowdfunding said, I'm giving money and I want to challenge the writer to put a turtle in.
Okay.
I know, it seems so well planned.
I thought it must be referring to some other sci-fi or fantasy movie that I wasn't familiar with.
It is. Yeah, you know.
Sure, Return of the Turtle. It's a ninja turtle.
Yeah,
No.
Okay. Do you see a parallel between biblical legends and sci-fi storytelling?
Definitely. I mean, mainly fantasy origins start at ancient folklores, whether biblical or all kinds of other legends. Anywhere in the world, you can find the origins in ancient legends. Even stories in the Bible itself, you can find more ancient, similar stories, or you can find later stories that refer to those ancient. Lilith, which is mentioned in the film. Yeah. There are like 24 of different versions of her in different folklores.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing to see how we reflect the Bible, but we also reflect so many things that were before and after. I mean, you can see in the film references that could be attributed, you know, as ancient as the Epic of Gilgamesh or as current as Star Wars. The intertextuality of art is something beautiful to see, especially in something which is created by young people, basically.
Yeah.
All right, great answer. The animated maps that tied the story together were really wonderful. And I'm wondering, was it important to you to showcase the land of Israel in the story rather than tell a tale that took place in a single setting?
Definitely. Showcasing Israel is a huge part of what we meant to do, and making the story a road trip story was an essential part of the story, and the maps helped a lot.
I know that for me, it was really important that this would be an Israeli film, not in the sense that it was created in Israel or by Israelis, but because it actually takes place in Israel and it cannot take place anywhere else.
In fact, the original synopsis had them traveling all over the map to a lot more cities. When I sat down with the original synopsis with the director and the cinematographer, they said, you've just written a 9-hour movie. You need to cut it down. So we chose some prime locations.
The ending does seem to leave room for a sequel. Is that a goal, to make a sequel?
Yes, please say yes.
We did leave an open ending, but it was kind of a wink at the audience.
Tongue-in-cheek.
Tongue-in-cheek, yeah, is the expression. We didn't really intend to make a sequel. Maybe a written sequel, like a short story that continues the adventures, or something else. When we finished making The Last Shepherd, we already started making plans for the next feature, which was a sci-fi feature that we finished filming this year.
And is currently undergoing editing.
It's a sci-fi movie called
Free Diving.
Yeah.
Which Ronnie also stars in. Woohoo!
Great. When will that be out?
Good question.
Good
That's
question,
a terrible
yeah.
question. It's difficult finding volunteers for post-production. We're not sure when it will be ready.
Okay. Can you give a quick summary of that movie?
Yeah, it's about this journalist. Her name is Liol. And she finds out she can dive between dimensions, between worlds.
Parallel universes.
Yeah. Long story short, she gets, how do you say, between a rock and a hard place. From this underground diving gang.
Yeah.
And the diving police, that tries to stop people from diving because there are consequences for everybody who dives to a different universe.
She joins the rebels against the evil empire.
Yeah, sort of like that.
But cool.
But cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of parallel universes with differences between them. It's very cool. And it wasn't written by me. It was written by the very talented Zloten Baruchin.
Yes.
Yeah, which was also who was the secondary director for The Last Shepherd and Free Diving.
Okay, I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to see it.
That's right.
Everyone can't wait to see it.
Okay, so talk about any particular challenges or triumphs in the making of The Last Shepherd, or any funny behind-the-scenes stories.
Like every day was funny.
I remember this one night. We're in the middle of the desert. It's 3 or 4 in the morning. And this is a very, very, very dramatic scene. All of a sudden, boom, this enormous rave music popping out of nowhere. And apparently there was a rave party starting just behind the hill from where we were shooting.
Loud electronic music. Everyone started dancing like crazy. We couldn't continue shooting.
You're so exhausted, but the music pumped you up. And I remember people taking out flashlights, and we're all dancing in character with all the clothes and makeup and special effects. And it's funny seeing the Rashbi and the devil and people all dancing together to really electronic.
Yeah, and then we called the police on them.
Yeah, edit that out.
And did they get out of there in time for you to film?
Yeah.
Yeah, the police came and the police came a lot to the set. Each time we had the fake gun props drawn, or people were shooting fake guns. Then walker-bys would call the police and would say, there are people with guns here, and Israel, people are sensitive to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I tend to think that would happen anywhere except the United States, where it's.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember, so many moments of people running with guns, and then police officer coming by, and then we're stopping, and then Hello, officer. Ronnie, want to share any behind-the-scenes story?
I'm gonna share a small triumph, a personal triumph. The sword fighting scene. Something was edited out of it that I was very proud of. I don't know if you know what a kick-up is.
Explain it.
It's like a ninja move that Jackie Chan does a lot.
I can describe it because I watched Ronnie do it. It's amazing. It's when bad guy push you and you fall down on your back.
And then you jump on your legs.
Yeah, you just lift your leg up and flump. You suddenly stand up like a ninja.
Yeah.
Cool.
I had like 2 weeks to try that, and the choreographer said, you know, you don't have to do it. We can do different thing because it's a hard thing to learn in such a short time. You don't have to do it. But I practiced and practiced until I got it. And that day was a 19-hour shoot day, which was really intense.
Yeah.
And after, I don't know, 17 hours of shoot, I did it, and I actually made it at the end.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a personal
And then
triumph.
it was cut out.
And then it was cut out.
Oh, no.
But that's fine. It's just a personal win.
It can go in the blooper reel.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's very funny.
It is in the blooper reel, I think.
Yeah, I was so tired after, I don't know how many takes of it. So the director had to help me jump. It looks really, really, really funny. Yeah.
The funny bit is it was a 19 hours long day. It was a Friday, and the next day we were also filming.
Yes.
So fun. Doing so much.
It was fun.
It was fun. I can tell you that we film only during weekends because everyone were working voluntarily.
You know, it was 3 months of weekends, and everyone were working pretty much around the clock on the film, and it was pretty crazy. I think another great thing for you, Ronnie, is how you made people feel in the film emotionally. There were some emotional scenes that really touched everyone, and that was really awesome. Because when I wrote it, I meant for it to be funny, but I never thought that it could also be emotional. And you brought that.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
You asked about triumphs, and I wanted to say that I think the biggest triumph for all of us is that the movie exists. When I came in as post-production manager, we did it in about 45 days. It can take months or years to do it properly, and that's why for the first screening, it was really moving for all of us to see the movie on the big screen. Because not all of us, I think, believed that it will happen.
No, most of us believed it wouldn't happen, I think. Yeah.
It's really hard to make a film anyway, even with the budget, but to make it without a budget, virtually from nothing, it's much harder. The fact that we did it is a huge win for all of us.
Well, mazel tov on creating this movie.
Thank you.
This is not your first sci-fi movie. I wanted to ask you about crossover games.
We tend to refer to crossover as more of a fan film, an amateur film, rather than a serious feature film like The Last Shepherd or Free Diving. It was our first attempt at a feature, and you can see huge differences in production values between crossover games and The Last Shepherd. But still, it's a really, really fun movie. It's a reality show parody, kind of a Big Brother, but with sci-fi and fantasy characters. What happens when you put in one house Xena and
Rogue from the
Rogue, Princess Leia,
Batman.
Gimli, Batman. It was really, really, really funny to make, and it was much easier to make because it's all one location, indoor location. It's all one house, with cameras. It was much easier and very different.
So is there anything else you want to talk about that I didn't think to ask you?
Well, I can say that for me, this movie brings about the whole different kind of Judaism and Israelism and fantasy and storytelling, and I think it has a potential to bring a lot of people who may not see things eye to eye or consider themselves to be part of the same genre. But I think it can bring a lot of people together just by the fact that they'll watch it and agree that, this is a fun thing that people did with something that we love. I can say I really believe and hope it's going to be a bridge over some gaps in Israeli society.
Okay, well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much, all of you, for recording this interview. I really appreciate it, and I really loved the movie.
Thank you,
Thank
Ivy.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the film.
This is Abigail Pogrubin, author of My Jewish Year, 18 Holidays, One Wandering Jew. I'll be joining you soon on the Book of Life podcast. I'd like to dedicate my episode to my twin sister, Robin Pogrubin, who not only questioned this journey I took, but edited every word of my book and made me feel like I had a partner, even though she didn't take the ride with me. Thank you to Robin, who I was in the womb with and who is with me to this day.
If you enjoy the Book of Life podcast, please become a patron at patreon.com/bookoflife. Leave a review on iTunes or a comment on our blog at bookoflifepodcast.com. You can also like our page at facebook.com/bookoflifepodcast. Follow us at twitter.com/bookoflifepod. Email us at bookoflifepodcast@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 561-206-2473. The Book of Life is a podcast service of the Feldman Library at Congregation B'nai Israel in Boca Raton, Florida at cbiboca.org and is supported in part by the Association of Jewish Libraries at jewishlibraries.org. Our background music is provided by the Freilach Makers Klezmer String Band. Thanks for listening and happy reading.